Sneakers and Cleats, the podcast.
Get the drums going. There you go.
I don't know.
Kind of
That's
little double bass action I see as well.
Yeah, doing my best. By the way, I thought for a second there, like I'm infringing on your territory.
No, not at all. I played percussion. I did not, play the drums.
So you couldn't do the double bass if tasked?
No, so I never had like a drum kit growing up. So I did not grow up learning that coordination and everything like that. Like I sometimes go down a YouTube wormhole and I love seeing the guys that like they're doing one rhythm with one foot, another with their left, and then right hand's doing something different. And it's just kind of like,
It's too much going on.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So I mean, I you can do like, I can do like 5 against 3 and, rhythms like that and everything, but that's two hands. Not
So my bass, whatever they're called on the drums, we get the two pedals.
Yeah. Double foot pedals.
So I do that in the car. I've got the brake and I got the gas. So it's
229, we're already off the
Yes.
rails. There
Yes,
we go.
we are.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome into another episode of Sneakers and Cleats. Episode 229 coming at you today. It is Thursday, September 25th.
Let's look it up.
Double checking.
25th. It
All
is.
right, there we go. So we got the date right at least. Zack Hedrick, Chuck Miketinac, along with you today. Another weekend of football, fast approaching, Chuck. Looking forward to it. Before we get going, remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're not live streaming this go around, but when you hear us later, be sure to head over to YouTube and subscribe to our News 4 and Fox SA YouTube channels. You can download, rate, review the podcast version wherever you get your podcast downloaded these days. So there's tons of apps out there and tons of places to listen. So appreciate you having being along with us here. Quick synopsis of this episode here. We've got some previews of the Cowboys and Texans who are circling the drain, I may say.
Yes, they are. At this point, they are.
I mean, so there's still a lot of season left, but
Yes.
it's like they got to turn things around right quick and in a hurry if they want to, keep the playoff hopes alive. And then also it's Thursday, so it's another edition of Thursday Night Lights. Chuck heading back out to Rutledge Stadium tonight for
looking
a
forward to it.
matchup between MacArthur and Wagner. That's coming at you tonight on the CWSA. That'll close things out for this episode. So a lot to fill in. We'll talk a little college football in there as well before we get out of here. So first things first, though, Chuck. It is 229. So y'all have been playing the area code game, I see. 229.
Yes.
Any guesses? I did not know this myself until I looked it up, like not but 5 minutes ago.
Okay, well, then I'm going to acquiesce to you looking it up because I will take another wild swing and miss because I have absolutely no clue what 229 is. I keep saying Biloxi, Mississippi, and I hope
Biloxi,
at some
Mississippi.
point it's going to hit or connect.
You're in the neighborhood there, I
Oh,
think.
okay, I'm getting closer.
Just a couple states over.
Okay.
It's southwestern Georgia, apparently.
Okay.
That is the 229. So probably a couple hours south of Atlanta is the area that we're talking about, right next to Dothan, Alabama. So
TV market there.
Yeah,
I think I applied for a job there once.
Did you?
Yes.
Did you hear back from them?
I did not, which told me a lot at the time.
So I'm guessing it's very early on.
That might have been last week, actually.
No, stop.
Yeah.
Chuck, you've been here 30 years in
I
San
have.
Antonio. I don't think you're applying to Dothan, Alabama. So.
You never know.
Yeah.
You never know, right? Yeah, that's right.
Knock on wood,
Keep
right?
tricking them as long as you can, Zach.
Right.
That's the key. Smoke and mirrors, baby.
They haven't kicked us out yet,
That's
right?
Thankfully, thankfully.
The key card is still working.
Yes.
All right, let's dive into football here. Cowboys and Packers, the return of Micah.
Yes.
Here it is. It's the game that everybody had circled after this one kicking off at Sunday, 7:20 on News 4 San Antonio, NBC, which we love having. So it's going to be a zoo up there in Jerry's world.
Yeah, and you get to go.
Yeah, won't that be fun? I'm not sure. I know we're going to be doing live shots at 5:00. I don't know what the game plan is yet. I'm sure Jack and I will be leaving super early. And who knows, we may be trying to go around to the tailgate, seeing who still has their Cowboys Micah Parsons jersey on.
That's a good idea.
And, just, hey, what are the feelings today? So it's going to be an interesting game. Cowboys have been lackluster so far through the first 3 games. But this is the game everyone had circled after the Micah Parsons trade went down. That only happened, back at the end of August, but it seems like it happened 3 months ago.
Yes.
It's just
these weeks will age us.
Dog years,
yes,
right?
Yes.
But so far, I mean, it seems like in the immediate aftermath, the Packers are winning this trade. Now, it's all going to be billed that this is the return of Micah, and deservedly so. I know some folks may be kind of like strung out on this storyline already, but Coach Schottenheimer, it's just kind of like, hey, we're playing the Packers. We're not playing Micah. I will say this about Coach Schottenheimer too. He continues to win the press conferences, I think, right?
He's very, very good.
He's good at spinning stuff. Maybe if the head coaching thing doesn't work out, he can take over for Jerry as spin doctor. But before we get diving into the discussion of the game, here's Coach Schottenheimer on just the prospect and the reality of Micah Parsons coming back and playing in Jerry's world.
It's a great freeze frame.
Mike is a great player. Mike is going to make plays. I'll just put that out there. Like, Mike is going to make plays. Does he get a sack? I hope not, but he might. He's pretty good. Our ability to have success against the Packers defense will be about a whole lot more than just Micah, because Mike is a great player, but just adding Micah to the mix doesn't negate the fact that they've had really good players there before Micah got there.
So a good way of saying, it's just like, hey, it's the Packers defense isn't all just about Micah. It's like they've got some other dudes too, and our success is just, hey, we got to, show it on the field against them. Now, granted, you're going to be without one of your biggest weapons on offense, CeeDee Lamb, high ankle sprain. Said he was fine in Chicago, but obviously they're going to hold him out playing the long game, making sure that they have him later on in October, November, and December.
Yeah, they are going to be banged up, right? You're missing 2 offensive linemen. You're missing your best offensive weapon. So not exactly a good situation to be in going into any game, much less this one against the Packers. But, I don't know who's won the trade at this point. I mean, Micah's made a couple of splash plays, but he hasn't been in there a lot.
Jury's still out, right?
Yeah. So, and then they, considering what they paid him, there's been a lot of criticism lately with what's going on with the Cowboys of who they're paying and who's not stepping up. So through 3 weeks, it's kind of hard to argue one way or the other who won the trade at this point. But, I'm going to be curious to see what Micah does in this game. If this is going to be the game that, he kind of makes a statement, if that's possible, because, he's still on the injury report too with his back. But, Packers do, I think I said it on this podcast a couple of weeks ago before the trade, or maybe right around the trade, that the Packers really could use a playmaker because they don't have many of them. And I kind of slighted them a little bit on defense. Ejiofor Cooper might be their best defender, the kid from A&M. Really good, sneaky pickup for them when they got him in the draft. Obviously their safety is really, really good, really talented, playmaking guy. So, what will the Packers do in this game? It's kind of hard to tell because, man, they laid an egg against Cleveland's defense last week, although Cleveland's defense is the number 1 defense in the league right now. So the Packers had 5 false starts in that game, literally gave the game away in the last 3.5 minutes of that game. They had the ball, a 7-point lead. Cleveland hadn't done anything with the ball offensively the entire game. And then the Packers turned the ball over. With
bad pick by Jordan Love.
Yeah, for sure. And then so they get a short field, they score, they force overtime. But they only forced overtime because the Packers went down and kicked, had a chance to win in regulation, and then missed the field goal. Didn't force overtime. I take that back. Packers missed a kick in regulation, blocked it. Cleveland returns it. They kicked their own winning field goal. I mean, it was a debacle for Green Bay. No question about that. So I would think that would give them more of an edge this week when they literally gave a game away last week. But, what concerns me about the Cowboys is I don't think we were having much of the conversations that we've had the last 2 weeks after the first game, right? I mean, we didn't see these busts on the back end the way. So things are going from, I think they looked like they were pretty good the first week to, here we are now. I think the offense, they struggled a little bit last week, but again, I think they had to make some adjustments on the fly with CD going out relatively early. They've looked pretty good. I mean, just the eye test, right?
They're kind of in the top third as far as production goes, and I know it's early, but and also our in-depth scouting report brought to you by our resident Green Bay Packers fan. So raise your hand.
Yes, thank you very much.
Well, I would think that part of the game plan after the past 2 weeks, we're kind of touching on it just there, is that Jordan Love's going to be throwing the football a little bit, throwing it around the yard, because so far the Cowboys secondary has had gaping holes. And all the good feelings that you had in Philly after that second half and after the lightning delay, it has not been the same defense.
No, it hasn't. And I think which helps the Cowboys in some regards, if the Packers have question marks on offense, and they do, it's not the most talented receiving core that they're going to see all year, the Cowboys. And their jury, I think, is still out, is if Jordan Love, he's already an elite quarterback, but can he be the guy that leads a team? Can he be the guy that wins you games based on his arm and his feet and his reads and everything else? Or is he just a guy that's going to be, middle quote unquote, the game manager, but slightly above average, and the guy that's worthy of the contract that he received? So, it's not like you're facing a Patrick Mahomes or anything else this week, I think. So, in that regard, this might be a get-right game for Dallas, in that there are going to be some huge tests in the passing game as the year goes along, with obviously, teams even in their own division. And this might be one of those games that maybe doesn't test you that way, quite the way it normally would.
As far as the Cowboys,
that's the hope anyway.
Right. We kind of talked about it. CeeDee Lamb out. You're missing some guys up front. Even with that, though, what do you expect the Cowboys to do on offense? Because we've seen in the past, to neutralize Micah a little bit, teams have run right at Micah. And I think at the beginning of the Chicago game, at least, there was some stuff in the running game for the Cowboys. I mean, Javonte Williams was, getting some good games. Right? Yeah, exactly. And even after that, though, they were getting some push and moving the ball. Now, of course, they're without CD. What do you expect? Will Pickens now kind of, I guess, he should just slide over into that 1A role, right? Who else are you expecting to maybe step up and have a big game for the Cowboys?
I think Nine's got to have a big game. I mean, and the thing that's been fun to watch with him is that even with Pickens and CD field, Turpin is still finding ways to get open. I mean, and even more so, obviously, because now all three of those guys are on the field at the same time. I mean, we've talked about this in the past. Turpin at the onset was, okay, we know he can run, but he was running sloppy routes, weren't even sure if he really knew what the playbook was, but there was a patience there, I think, that because of his raw ability that the Cowboys afforded him. And boy, is that really paying dividends now. Sure. I mean, that guy is really turned into a nice secret little weapon. And probably not a secret anymore, right? Not only can he return kicks, and by the way, nobody's kicking him the damn ball there when it comes to, kickoff returns, or punts, but he really has turned into be a very nice complementary receiver and really an explosive guy and a tough guy too, tough guy to bring down, finish his runs, even though he's, the smallest guy in the team, all that stuff. So they're going to still have to be able to pass the ball. Obviously that's their bread and butter with, given the way this offense is built, but Javonte sure has run the ball. It's going to be a huge test though, because the Packers defense also highly rated through 3 games.
Sure. Well, you mentioned they're coming off a loss, so they're probably coming in with a little bit of an edge. Cowboys 1-2, they kind of maybe need to get back up to 500 just to kind of keep things afloat, at least for a little bit. And we've seen this time and time again sometimes. Dallas loses games that they have no business losing, and then they can turn right around, and then they pick up a win when it's just like nobody's giving them a chance. So that leads it to, of course, this question. Who you picking? Who wins this Sunday?
Well, it would be hard for me to pick the Cowboys just based on what has gone on the last 2 weeks. Like something has got to flip.
Yeah.
You can't be giving up all these gash plays to the tune of 11 of 25 yards or more. And, Coach Schottenheimer broke it down even further. It's like, in the football world, most people look at explosive plays as plays of 25 yards or more.
Right.
He broke it down at the NFL level. It's running plays of 12 yards or more and pass plays of 16 yards. And so he goes, and if you look at us, he goes, we're not giving up 12, 16, even 25 yards. It's 35, 40. So these are huge communication issues, or, won't denigrate 7 too much, because on that ball that he got beat on, he slipped, obviously, and it was glaring because there was no help over the top. But I don't think he was targeted much after that one pass play, the rest of that Bears game.
Right.
So, they've got to figure something out. And whether it comes down to what Coach Schottenheimer said this week, instead of having our defensive line meetings, our linebacker meetings, our DB meetings, we're going to have our meetings as a unit, because that's how bad some of the communication has been between all 3 phases of the defense. And I suspect there will be some personnel changes too. There has to be some drastic moves made at this point, if nothing else, to accentuate. We have to put our foot back on the pedal and trying to fix things. And we may have to shock therapy some guys into thinking, hey, it's a long season and 1 and 2 is not horrible, but we can't keep playing like this and expect to turn this thing around.
Right. I was pulling up the injury report. Of course, the one will come out later today, but they may have some help on the horizon. Deron Bland, limited in practice so far. Again, they'll practice again later. We may learn more. Trayvon Diggs did not practice. Of course, he's dealing with kind of a shoulder injury, but he said he was good up in the locker room in Chicago. So just, nothing major. So we'll see what happens there. Again, that, it hasn't been good with Kyer Elam or, any of the other guys behind him so far, and you're still waiting on Siobhan Ravel to come back at some point. So, we'll see what happens. So, it should be interesting on Sunday. It will be
interesting. It'll be fascinating. We'll all be watching. And the one thing that keeps coming back to me, it just doesn't make any sense, right? The Packers have never lost in that building. Never. They're 6-0.
How about that?
3 regular season games, 2 playoff games, and a Super Bowl. 6-0 in that gym.
We were talking before about the who's kind of winning the trade. Of course, jury's still out on that. The Cowboys getting a couple of first-round picks. Looking at that right now, just something I saw noted on Twitter. If things ended as they are right now, I saw this note. Where was it here? The Cowboys right now would pick 11th. Green Bay has the 26th pick, kind of right around where we expected, right?
Yes.
So that's not going to get any better, I guess, as far as Green Bay pick is concerned, because obviously the more they win, the later they'll be picking in the first draft. So in the first round, that is. So, well, moving on to the Texans real quickly. Again, both the NFL teams that combined 1-5 so far to start the season. Not been great. Titans coming into town for the Texans on Sunday. That one kicking off at 12 noon over in Houston. The big question here, of course, can the Texans offense get on track? It's been pretty paltry from both of these clubs so far to start. Just to quickly read off some things, both teams in the bottom 4 of total offense. Houston's a little slightly better, but not by much. Titans are last in the NFL when it comes to passing yards per game. Of course, rookie quarterback, former UIW guy, Cam Ward taking over. Texans only 6 spots ahead of them. Both teams in the bottom 10 for rushing yards per game. And they're in the bottom 4, both teams in the bottom 4 for points per game so far. So it doesn't look like it's going to be a high-powered affair on Sunday, but what are you expecting from the Texans offense this Sunday?
Well, the Texans have been right there, right? I mean, they're 0-3, but are they the best 0-3 team in the league, right?
I mean, but they are getting it. They're in the games. It's not like they're getting blown out. That defense is kind of keeping them in it.
100%. So I think the one thing that they've got to do, the Texans defense, and talk about, everybody kind of raising the level of their play to try to get the ship going in the right direction, is they got to get some turnovers in this game. Mm-hmm. You're at home and, there should be plenty ticked off. I think whatever was going on with that team internally, because the fact that they cut C.J. Gardner-Johnson, a guy that they sought after during the during the offseason, for them to make a move like that with a player as good as C.J. Gardner-Johnson is, I think that's going to get the attention of a lot of people in the locker room. Like, will I be next if I don't get right with the ship?
Time to ship up.
Again, prove it game for the Texans. It is every week in the NFL because, even bringing the Cowboys into the conversation, they can change the script pretty quickly on their season if they go out and beat a Green Bay Packer team on Sunday Night Football in front of the whole world, right? Put up a good showing, tighten things up on defense, find a way to win, all that stuff. The Texans, again, those are 3 games they easily could have won with a play here or a play there. The fact that they haven't, if they start finding a way to make those plays, then it'll be easy for them to flip the script on the season.
Things can start rolling pretty quick. Yep. All right. So moving on to college football here real quickly. Not much in terms of kind of local games, both UTSA and the Texas Longhorns on a bye week this week, but a team near and dear to your crew a little bit. The Texas A&M Aggies back at home, opening up SEC play, I should say, welcoming in the Auburn Tigers, who are coming off a loss in their conference opener to Oklahoma. A very tough ball club, though, the Auburn Tigers. Jackson Arnold, he gained some respect in my eyes, just the way he played at Oklahoma. Gave his team, his new team, a chance to win up there in a very hostile environment. So, what are you expecting from the Aggies today? Can they avoid the letdown after that big road win up in Notre Dame?
Well, I hope that's not the case, for the Aggies' perspective, because all that goodwill of finding a way to win at Notre Dame, but their defense is going to have to be a lot better than it was at Notre Dame.
Sure.
And I would suspect with a little help from the home crowd and everything else that it will be. But, man, isn't it something like you play in the SEC? It's like I already hear people making excuses for Florida. It's like that's not going to be an easy game for Texas when they go in there, right?
Yeah.
And it's the same thing. I don't care who it is, where you're playing. If you're in the SEC, it's tough to play every game, more so even on the road, right? So you got to think that that's got to help the Aggies. But, man, every single SEC game is a trap game, in my opinion, right? If you aren't on your P's and Q's every single week, if you're not at the height of your being healthy and having strong backups, all that, you have to have everything clicking every single week in order to survive.
Yeah.
That baton death march every week in that league.
This conference, especially this season, it looks like there's no clear-cut team that's head and shoulders above everybody else. Mm-hmm. So to your point, it looks like, Oklahoma-Auburn, it was a one-score game, and the thinking in Oklahoma land is, there's going to be a lot more games like this, but I think it's going to be like that across the conference because you had Ole Miss and Kentucky a couple weeks ago. Ole Miss, is expected to be their top 10 team or close to it. And, Kentucky was right there with them.
Right.
It was a one-score game, tightly contested. So I'm expecting to see a lot of SEC contests like this where it's just going to be kind of cannibalizing each other where, one team beats this other team 1 week, and then the next week it's totally flipped. So
you ever I know you've heard Dak talk about this, playing at Mississippi State, and he said playing in that league got him ready for what he's dealing with every single week. The focus is on every single one of these games, and they're all the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. And, if you want to get to where you're going, you've got to win almost all of them.
Right. Did you see what Le'Veon Moss said on the Paul Feinbaum show? Just, hey, what was it like playing in, South Bend, in a hostile crowd? And his reply was, it's no Kyle Field. So
very nice. Well said. Yeah, I mean, I could go on for days. What a great game day experience it was there because there's not the venom that you see in other ballparks. I mean, it was just super nice, although the man that ended up selling – how we got our tickets was through a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend. But, I don't know that he would have sold us those tickets if he'd have known that we were Aggies in the Aggie clan. Me not being an Aggie, but my son, yes.
Yeah. So like we said at the top, UTSA, Texas not playing this week, kind of a lighter local schedule a little bit. Of course, want to make mention UIW hosting Abilene Christian this weekend as well. So wishing the Cardinals best of luck. That's really kind of it as far as college football, but there are some other notable games. Just to quickly read off here, it's going to be a great Saturday. We got number 4 LSU going to number 13 Ole Miss. So thank you very much. Oregon at Penn State, night game, whiteout game. So that one's going to be top 10 matchup there. And then, of course, we were talking about the SEC being the, week in, week out, just slugfest that it is. Number 17, Alabama, traveling to number 6, Georgia. So tons of top 20 matchups here this weekend. So good weekend for college football.
Yeah, and it's going to be that way every week, right? I mean, especially when you're talking about the SEC.
Yep. All right, moving on to TNL and high school football here. It is week 5 of the high school. It's the halfway point already of the regular season.
Jeez,
just,
really?
clicking along, I know.
I don't think I did the math on that. Is that really the case? Are we at the halfway point with this game?
Well, I guess so.
Well, I mean, we do an 11-week schedule. This is
11
week.
weeks.
Okay, we're
so,
right there,
yeah,
though.
five,
Wow.
6, I guess, if you want to, kind of go in between. But, yeah, for me, I'm thinking they play 10 games, week 5.
No, I see. I mean, yeah, I told you this a million times, man. My walk across time feels like a walk across the street these days.
Right.
Yep.
So we'll get to the TNL game real quickly. Just going to run down the TNL top 10 for this week. The Harlan Hawks taking down Brennan 31-17 on Saturday night. Great crowd out there, too, at Ferris Stadium. Went and shot that game before halftime. Just great atmosphere, and 2 years in a row, I should say. Harlan Hawks taking down Brennan. They look like for real.
Yeah,
in 28-6A.
I think we knew that Harlan was good. We know that they were a couple of scores better than Brennan. I mean, I don't think so.
They were up
right?
7.
I mean,
They were up 17-0 at halftime.
Wow.
So
impressive.
yep. Johnson also 3-0. They were on a bye last week. They got Brandeis this week. That game, I believe, is on Saturday. So we'll see if the Jaguars can, Jaguars. I know people are always kind of like
The Jaguars.
yeah, or the Jags.
Right.
We can just
Yes.
shorten. People I know have. They kind of get persnickety about the pronunciation of Jaguars.
What's the other one? Acorn.
Yeah, I don't know.
Pecan.
Potato.
Tomato.
Yeah, there you go. Number 3 is the New Braunfels Unicorns. They're 4-0, picking up a district opening win against MacArthur. 35-7 last night. They take on Victoria East. That game is actually tonight. So the Unicorns back in action. And then rounding up the top 5 is Smithson Valley. Last game, or 3 and 4. Smithson Valley is number 4, excuse me. Rangers 3-1. They take on Piper tomorrow night. That might be our game of the week.
I would think so, right? Yeah.
That's at Ranger Stadium. So we'll see if the Rangers can keep their winning streak.
That's the SEC of high school football
Right.
in that league with Piper, New Braunfels, Smithson Valley.
Yep. The Rangers' only loss is to Brennan, and Brennan rounding out the top 5 here. They're on a bye this week, but their next game is against O'Connor to start the month of October. Steel Knights 3-1. Their first loss to Austin Westlake, of course, held themselves. I mean, kind of hung with them a little bit, but then as you'd expect, Westlake, kind of just tons of college talent all over that field on both sides, really. So, but as you'd expect, Westlake kind of pulled away in that one, but still,
I'll see him again.
the Steel Knights are going to be they're going to be up there competing for that
That's
district championship. Alamo Heights, wow, what a game last week on TNL, huh? Back and forth between them and Clemens. The Mules winning on a game-winning field goal at the gun.
Yeah, that was really a fascinating contest. And yeah, great effort by both teams, tete-a-tete, back and forth, ping pong, just the way you draw it up every week for TNL, right?
Yep, there you go.
Well done by both teams.
And Alamo Heights, they'll be playing Bernie, going up to
another
Bernie.
slugfest.
Yeah, that one's going to be good too. Clark is number 8. They were on a bye this week. They get the Legacy of Educational Excellence Volunteers this week. They'll try and improve to 4-0. And then a couple of 5A teams rounding up the top 10. Southwest at 4-0. They're on a bye. They get Southside. And then Southwest Legacy upsetting Jay at their place. 17-16. It was a close game all the way through. But the Titans coming out on top 17-16. And look at this just real quickly. 3 straight games. Their next 3 are against teams from Laredo, Cigaroa, Nixon, and Martin. And then in mid-October, we've got the Fire and Iron Bowl. It could set up for an undefeated showdown between them and Southwest for that lead in District 14-5A.
Wouldn't that be something? But I mean, talk about teams that'll get your attention though too, right? I mean, if you're Southwest Legacy and you're trying to build something, and obviously they're building nicely, you go in and upset Jay. We saw Jay earlier this year. I mean, what a ball club they've got. So yeah, aptly earned by popping into our top 10 this week.
Sure. All right. So this week's matchup in Week 5 for Thursday Night Lights is MacArthur and Wagner. Both teams struggling to get out of the gate to start the season. Wagner's played a really tough schedule, and MacArthur, it's a new head coach. We'll touch on him we'll touch on him now, right? Jordan Ricker, a Mac alum, coming back to his alma mater, trying to get this program on the right track and everything. Been a tough start for both these clubs. A combined 1-7 to start the year. Before we get to Coach Starren, real quick, we did speak with him this week. Didn't get around to Coach Ricker, but they played a really tough schedule. The T-Birds, though, they've got to find some answers on defense a little bit, because so far through the first few weeks, they have allowed points. Their opponents have scored 55, 52, and 48. Not going to win very many games, letting up point spreads like that, point scores like that. Just what have you learned from both these clubs going into tonight?
Well, for MacArthur, with Coach Ricker, he was with Ron Ritterman at Alamo Heights, and so they've changed the offense, right? It's an RPO, spread out type of offense. So there's been a little bit of a growing curve there. But mostly what MacArthur's dealing with is that they're super young, Zach. They're starting 9 sophomores.
There you go.
And they are playing 10. So but they feel like they've got a really good senior class with a good mix of, upperclassmen and then obviously really underclassmen. But they like the trajectory that they're going. I mean, they've been competitive. I mean, even Coach Starren was talking about how, they jump off at you with what they're doing, and you can see what they're building.
So the building blocks are there,
right,
being put in place.
And then Wagner, they've got a really good defensive lineman that might be missing this game tonight too. They're a little nicked up in key areas. But they are also inexperienced. They have some seniors, but even those seniors are inexperienced. So
they did lose a lot they lost a lot of playmakers from last year's class.
So they're trying to figure it all out as well. But I think, the way you can look at this is we're not going to sugarcoat it, right? This is a very, very top-heavy league. You've got Smithson Valley, state champs. Piper, by all accounts, one of the best teams in the area. New Braunfels, one of the best teams in the area. Right, you can go right down the list, right? So
it's a gauntlet.
The way these teams are looking at this is that 4th playoff spot. If you can win 4 games, if you can find a way to win 4 games,
get in there.
There's a chance you could be one of those teams that kind of separates themselves from the big boys at the top. It's a tall order for both of these teams, but that's the challenge for both of them. And so obviously with that in mind, tonight's game is almost a must-win for both of these teams.
Yeah, absolutely. So earlier this week, our photographer extraordinaire, Jack Green, went out and talked to the Wagner Thunderbirds head coach, Jason Starren. Here is Coach Starren talking about this week's matchup on TNL.
It is not where you guys wanted it to be at this point in the season, but what does it say about the character of these young men that are still showing up every single day and putting in the hard work in this hot Texas sun?
Well, we have high character, high integrity kids. Our pillars are T3, tough, trustworthy team. And in terms of being trustworthy, they're high integrity kids. And I got to give credit to the coaches, because they're the ones in position meetings preaching that. We've played an extremely tough schedule. I mean, there's no excuses, but it's one of the toughest schedules in the district, and it's not going to get any easier. We have it's a very top-heavy district, even with some parity. So, we have to spot the ball. We have to keep playing, and we're not going to back down. We're actually a really young football team. I don't think, not that it matters, right? I mean, it's our 11 versus their 11. There's no excuses, but our defense has been creating turnovers, and our offense is, even though we're still working on trying to find that number one quarterback, there's been some bright spots, and we've had some turnover issues, but when we're executing at an all-time high, just like since we started in 2017, 2018, 2019. You can see the potential. We just have to be more consistent.
Some keys to a victory this Thursday night against a good MacArthur team.
Well, it's hard. It's very cliche, but we do have some distractions with some homecoming events and the morning pep rally. We just kind of have to. It's very cliche. We really got to worry about ourselves. That's kind of how we prepare on both sides of the ball. It's not being disrespectful to any opponent, but every week it's just really about ourselves. Wagner versus Wagner, trying to get better every week.
Born in the side of homecoming, right? So having to deal with that. No, but Chuck, parting thoughts for tonight before the game.
Yeah, looking forward to calling the game. Obviously, enjoyed my visits with both coaches this week, and think about the challenges of coaching football this time of year with inexperienced football players. Coach Stern talked about having a young quarterback back there, so. They've got two. They got two that they really like, but they feel like they had to kind of decide which way to go because you're not going to be able to run that flex bone the way they run it until you have somebody running it all the time and not on a part-time basis. So there's some growing pains, but both these coaches having to overcome a lot of other things that people don't see or know what they're doing behind the scenes when it comes to getting a group of young men together and running them out there on a football field on Friday night. Things that go beyond, first downs and touchdowns. So both solid, sturdy citizens, and our youth are in really good hands with these fellows as head coaches.
Be sure to tune in and see Chuck and Don Harris on the call tonight for MacArthur and Wagner on the CWSA. Again, coverage beginning at 7 o'clock. And before we get out of here, remember to download, rate, review, and subscribe to the News 4 and Fox SA YouTube channels. And also be sure to give the podcast a 5-star rating. Until next time, everybody, have a great weekend.
And what